mastering the single leg deadlift. So this is a little routine I use with most of my clients, especially when they have a poorly developed hip hinge versus a squat, right? So just to make that difference clear, a hinge is bending here, right? And then counterbalancing our weight by shifting our weight back and keeping our back flat. Whereas a squat is bringing this whole system down and up. A hinge is bending it in the middle, right? So to practice the hinge, I'll start with either a kettlebell or I'll take a dumbbell. If they don't have a kettlebell, I'll just stand it on its end, so it's about this height. Either one will work for this, but what we're going to start is bilateral, so meaning both legs. On either side of the kettlebell, we're going to practice the hinge, right? So we're pushing the hips back, we're getting the stretch in the hamstrings, and then we're just bending the knees to touch the weight and then standing up. So we're not even picking the weight up. We're going to unhinge the knees a little bit so that we can counterbalance, and then just push the hips back, touch the weight, stand up. Hips go back, touch the weight, stand up. And I'll do a set of 10 of those. And then what we're going to do is we're going to shift to a single leg. And the way that this works, it becomes kind of this goofy dance. So you're going to start 2 legs, hips go back, touch the kettlebell, shift the weight to one side. Follow the same pattern on one leg. Hips go back, touch the kettlebell, stand up, back to the middle. Now we go to the other side. Before we do that, I want to reiterate that middle pattern. So we hit the middle again, and now we can shift over. Single leg, double leg, single leg, double leg, single. And keep going back and forth, practicing that movement, right? Now a couple of tips on this, the balance is a factor. So if you're feeling relatively unbalanced when you shift to one, you can set your foot back. But if you put your weight there, it's not going to be the same pattern. So we want to keep the weight on that front foot, but you can touch the ground and kind of practice that pattern until you develop the balance. Another good tip is pick something to look at. So I'm going to look over here. I'm not going to look down at the kettlebell. I know where the kettlebell is, but I'm going to focus on a pattern or a spot here and keep my focus there while I reach down for it. Okay, that actually does help balance. So we're always going to go back to this 2-legged pattern, and then again, practicing on one. Now, if you get to the point where you can get through that pretty quickly, then you can actually pick the weight up. So we're going to go down, pick the weight up, set the weight down, shift to one side, pick the weight up, set the weight down, back to the middle, pick it up, set it down, to the other side, pick it up, set it down, back to the middle, and you can keep practicing that way. When you've got that pattern fairly well developed, then you can just do regular sets and reps, where you might do like 10 sets on each leg, maybe 10 in the middle, but I like to mix those together to keep reiterating what that pattern looks like. What's cool about this, you don't need a lot of weight. Like I said in the beginning, just doing this with no weight and really focusing on where you're loading and feeling that in hamstrings, that's intense. Even if you've got a very well-developed deadlift, like you're used to lifting heavy weights, this is a great exercise to go back to because it's just going to make sure that that pattern is primed so that the next time you do go lift, you're lifting with really, really good form. Light weights can be devastating in this. So ease into it, start low. Even if you're used to high levels of performance, ease into this. This is a different movement if you haven't done single leg stuff. And this will open a whole new door to some other options that you have for training, especially these days we've been in the pandemic lockdown. You may not have access to all this great equipment. If all you've got is like a gallon of milk, you can do this and actually get some really good exercise in. So there's a good tip for you.